If we let them continue, this is a clear and present danger to our community. And then when they're sitting here saying this was not over-serving, that is alarming.
Fargo City Commissioner Dave Pepcorn shared those thoughts about the Windbreak today as commissioners unanimously upheld a liquor license violation for the popular Fargo bar.
The Liquor Control Board made its decision back in January when police said they had visited the bar 19 times last year, all related to over-serving. Valley News Team's Kirsty Madej tells us how the bar is now fighting back.
There's at least one commissioner that's been out to make an example of the Windbreak and is following through on his public comments about shutting down the Windbreak, as he again made today during the hearing.
Attorney Tim O'Keefe argued on behalf of the Windbreak at today's special city commission meeting to decide whether or not to uphold the Liquor Control Board's ruling that the bar violated the city's over-serving ordinance.
This business has acknowledged to the city that they had some issues to address. They took proactive steps with the city, cooperated with the police department.
O'Keefe argues that the Windbreak has implemented ID scanners and attended de-escalation training, but City Commission and police say that's not enough to combat over-serving.
There appears to be a pretty heavy culture of over-serving in that establishment.
Today's hearing stems from an incident that happened in October. According to the police investigation, a man was served 14 drinks in the span of 96 minutes. And this isn't their first over-serving offense. Another happened back in August when a woman crashed into a pole after leaving the bar.
This business is a danger to our community to operate right now. They have a culture of over-serving.
Commissioner Pepcorn suggested the business be suspended indefinitely until they can prove they've made changes to their culture. Previously, Mayor Mahoney has mentioned that it takes 4 violations before a business has their license revoked. In Fargo, Kirsty Madej, Valley News Live.
The bar was ordered to pay a $1,000 fine and have their license suspended for 1 day. However, the Windbreak's attorney says they'll appeal that decision in civil